You know, it happens to the best of us, getting older. Well, I remember moving to San Francisco in my 20s and I didn't have any gray hair, and now I've got quite a few of them. Our next guest, Gustavo Serrina, is a member of the San Francisco Commission on Aging and Adult Services. He's going to talk to us about that transition. Welcome, Gustavo. Good to see you.
Thank you. Nice to see you, David.
Now, we were talking before we went live that you were the first openly gay president of the commission.
That's right.
Tell me when that happened and what did that feel like?
It was interesting and exciting. The only alternative to growing old is dying young or prematurely. Neither one is an option for me at this point.
Yeah.
I was appointed to the commission in 2004 by then Mayor Gavin Newsom, and I've learned a great deal about the issues facing seniors of all sexual orientations, but there are some issues that are particular to our community.
Right. Let's talk a little bit about how you came to be here today. When did you come to San Francisco, and how long have you lived here now?
I came to San Francisco in 1966 from Manhattan. I'm a native of New York and a native Manhattanite, and I've stayed here since then.
Right. Did you ever think that you would be dealing with issues of, as I jokingly referred to it in the opening, being gay and gray?
No.
We never think about that.
The gray part never occurred to me.
And what has been the greatest revelation to you working on the commission?
That there are a number of issues that are difficult to foretell.
Mm-hmm.
No one knows how he or she is going to age. There are issues that affect all socioeconomic groups, and then there are some issues that are particular to the older generation of gays and lesbians, bisexuals and transgenders who are not always comfortable coming out and who may need assistance, who may be living in assisted living facilities and are very much afraid. They're afraid of any kind of government services because they remember when it was dangerous to be yourself.
Right. So now we have a generation of LGBT seniors who, when they were not seniors, when they were men, women in their 20s, 30s, they couldn't even legally or safely be out.
No, they couldn't even congregate in a bar.
Right.
It was a very, very different world. Mm-hmm. And that carryover, that fear, is very real to them. It seems hard to believe in San Francisco that people would still feel the need to be closeted, but generational differences exist.
Yeah, do you think that still exists? I mean, I know that I have many friends that are older than me in their 70s and 80s, and they talk very movingly about never thinking they could be open, much less open with a partner or in a facility with people who are non-gay. The ghetto has kind of followed them mentally.
Exactly. I think it's changing, though. I think aging baby boomers like myself mm-hmm. are quite comfortable being ourselves and are not going into a closet. But the older generation, it's a transitional period for many of them. I think they're okay in their own social circle, but if they are moved into different locations, they may not be as comfortable.
Right. Let's talk a little bit about some numbers. I'm sure over the years you've seen the statistics of how many members of the LGBT community there are in San Francisco. And I just want to be clear, your commission deals specifically with the 7x7 San Francisco area, correct?
That's correct.
So how many gay seniors are there in San Francisco?
It's very, very difficult to tell. I was
mm-hmm.
involved in a conference call this morning where we're trying to get good demographic information. People aren't asked about their sexual orientation, so the information is not collected. The census doesn't ask for that. Mm-hmm. Lately, there's been some information about same-sex couples living together, but that doesn't answer the question about single people living together. Mm-hmm. Preliminary studies or earlier studies that were done indicate that there is a very high percentage of gay and lesbian seniors who are living by themselves. Most never married, most don't have children, many are estranged from their biological families. Mm-hmm. And their families of choice may be dying or suffering many of the incapacities that frequently happen when you get older.
That's right. I mean, if you're in a biological family unit, maybe there's cousins or siblings or whatnot who are younger that will look in on Uncle David or Cousin Gustavo. But if you're a single gay man or a lesbian or a member of the transgender community, it may just be you aging alone.
Especially the older generation, which wasn't comfortable being out to their families, or their families weren't particularly accepting.
Mm-hmm. How big of a problem is that?
It's very big, and it's difficult to quantify because of the fear of coming out and many protections, many laws that are intended to protect us from discrimination bar asking the question. And so that's something we're trying to work on.
That's right. If legally you can't say, are you LGBT, well, then it's very hard to get statistical data that will help that population.
We're trying to change that. We're working on seeing that, for example, contracts awarded to service providers by the Commission on Aging and Adult Services target the LGBT population. But they're not allowed to ask their clients if they are LGBT. So it's very difficult to tell how many they're actually reaching.
Right. So how do you do it? I mean, is it just door to door, phone to phone?
We're trying to change that. We're
computer?
trying to change that to actually ask the question as well. And there are new studies that have been done. A recent study that I'm hoping to see within about 30 to 45 days was done online. There have been other studies that have been done more on a person-to-person, asking people out at big events like the LGBT parade. But it is a very, very tricky issue to quantify. And then there is another complexity that clouds the problem, and that is the difference between sexual behavior and sexual identification, which only makes it a little bit more complicated.
That's right. Now, San Francisco is, in a sense, a bubble for the LGBT community. How much has the work being done by the San Francisco Commission on Aging and Adult Services been referenced by other cities, vis-a-vis specifically this LGBT, gay and gray issue? Like, do you get calls from Cleveland going, you know, this is an issue for us, or from Houston, or from Los Angeles?
No, we have just begun. Since I've been on the commission, we've funded a lot of programs that target LGBT seniors, programs at the Castro Senior Center on Diamond Street, programs at the 30th Street Senior Center on Church Street, 30th and Church. But in terms of quantifying, it's a new field, and with the support of Supervisors Weiner, Campos, and Olagi, I'm part of a task force that is working on quantifying the needs, quantifying the population, documenting as much of this as possible. And there are so many issues, from isolation to architectural impediments in San Francisco, people living in apartments that have 50 stairs to get to.
San Francisco is a challenging city if you're in your 20s, much less if you're in your 60s or 70s, have to walk up 2 flights to your flat.
Exactly, exactly. And then there's the issue of those who are safely housed and those who are not, or for whom housing is of critical importance. And then there are any number of upcoming seniors who are survivors of HIV, but for whom there is no good demographic information in terms of what their health issues may be as they get older, because it's going to be different.
Right. How has this impacted you personally? I mean, you started, you said you came here in the 1960s.
66.
And then you were appointed by then Mayor, now Lieutenant Governor Gavin Newsom. So that was 15 years ago. How has your experience aging as a gay man been impacted by the work you've been doing on the commission?
Well, I had a lot of friends who were older. My late partner was 21 years older than I, and he was spared almost all of the indignities that accompany old age, which was fortunate. He died quite unexpectedly at age 85. He had been out to lunch with a friend the day before, and the next morning he had an aortic aneurysm and died in my arms. So he was spared most of that, but I could see that there were things that he once was able to do that were a little harder for him to do. He had many friends who were his age or older, and I saw them decline. I watched my mother and my grandmother both living into their 90s. My mother traveled until she was 89, but I could see that she wasn't the same woman, so I could see it, and I thought, well, you know, this is going to hit me. And it's hitting others, and how do we address this as a community?
Right. Do you think there's a little bit of kind of going back into the closet for gay seniors? I mean, you look at advertising. You rarely see, although in San Francisco it's different, you see marketing done to the LGBT community with all age groups. But, you know, the image especially of gay men was, you know, young and 20 and fair and pretty and not thinking about aging. Is it kind of hard in a way for gay men to talk about aging?
Well, I think our community, as the country in general, tends to make old people invisible.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's true among lesbians. I think they're much more encompassing and generous in their assessment of people. Gay men, unfortunately, tend to be more obsessed with youth. That's the ideal. That's how we're judged. And many seniors feel invisible. I don't, because I'm involved with other activities, and I'm out in my community all the time. I'm out in the neighborhood all the time.
Right. Now, one of your other, one of your main activities is being president of the Castro Community Benefit District. In your time involved with the CBD, How have you seen the community change? Have you seen the Castro go gray?
The Castro has gone gray. The CBD was set up in 2005, and it is funded by property owners in the district, and it is tasked with street cleaning, graffiti removal, safety, streetscape improvements, and business development. And so we've seen the neighborhood get cleaner as a result of the CBD, and the perception of the neighborhood continues to get better as a result of our activities. But it's also, as I'm out there, I do see a lot more people who are my age, who are sitting at Jane Warner Plaza, sitting at Harvey Milk Plaza. More and more of us are retiring. Baby boomers are, some of them are continuing to work, but you see more older people out there in the neighborhood, and it is a common observation that the Castro is graying.
Well, in a sense, it's like watching the maturing of a community. I mean, for so long, it's as if the image of the LGBT community, specifically the gay Castro community, was fixed in a time and a place and an image, and now we're maturing. Do you have any advice for someone who might be watching this, who's a senior, a member of the LGBT community, saying, I need services, I need help, I need information, but they're afraid for a variety of reasons to ask those questions? Where would they go for help, or whom would they call?
They could start. There are a lot of agencies that are targeting LGBT seniors. They can start with the Department of Aging and Adult Services. They can contact Open House, among others. They can go to the Castro Senior Center. They can go to the 30th Street Senior Center. They need not be afraid. They need not be afraid, and what I would advise everybody, make sure you have your legal documentation regarding what you want done. Should become incapacitated to make decisions about your health. You need to have that in writing. Give it to trusted people. Make sure your doctors know about it. You don't need to be rich to have a will, so have one. Make sure people understand what you want done. Think about what you want regarding the quality of life as you get older should you become incapacitated. That's a personal decision, but you need to address it.
Thanks so much. We've been speaking with Gustavo Serrina. Next, we'll be speaking with Sarah Staley, director of the Laramie Project, 10 years on. Thanks for watching.
Thank you.